Thank you very much, Lou. Thanks, everyone. And Becca is going to be sharing the screen. I'll give a background of what happened before I'll hand over to Becca to say the methodology and what he did. Our report is slightly different from others because we only focus on the staff development mostly, and hopefully that would then impact on the students' learning. So in this case, we only worked with one staff member, therefore it's just a case study. So the background of our topic or question came from experienced teachers, Becca, who identified that because Harlow comes from a region with highly deprivation in terms of education, it is like a culture for people to think that maths is okay to say, I can't do maths, as I've heard throughout the presentations today. Everywhere is saying, I can't do maths, I hate maths. So when we started to dig deeper, to talk to the learners to find out why they hate maths, why they love other subjects and not maths. When you talk to one student individually, you realize that the students will then begin to open up to you, and if you start to take them back to basics, then the students will open up, and if you then say, let's just try and see if you can do any maths at all. And then when they answer a question, you go back to basics, they go, oh, is that it? Can I do any more? And they start to get interest, and it is based on that attitude which we found from other students that we thought, okay, though there are so many different reasons why the students are not getting that grade 4, we cannot handle all of them at the same time. So as we've seen in other presentations, we're taking each aspect separately and dealing with it in different scenarios, different institutions. So we thought we use that aspect to dig deeper to see how we can help the students. So we started asking them, giving them self-assessments at the beginning of every year. And the students will then overwhelmingly say, oh, it's ratio that we don't understand. Then we will plan towards the ratios, teach and reteach. And as you know, the results, though better than national average each year that we taught, we still were not quite happy because we were getting about 30% grade 4 pluses, but we wanted to get better and better. Luckily for us, CfEM came along with this project, and we've had some money now to work and research even deeper and get the real reason or the real gaps in their knowledge. So we decided to use data, their actual exam results, and to get the true gaps in their knowledge. And though we now use that to analyze, we analyze the data, we know the gaps in their knowledge, but because we have new staff as well, we want to also support staff to be able to deal with all this variety of different issues. So we want the staff to develop their teaching skills by way of planning with these small groups of students and working with small groups, which will make it not daunting for them as well. And so we got students and staff to work as what we call a maths clinic. So the aim was to support staff to develop their skills and therefore effect good experience on the learners. And we have mentioned already that we were working against this culture of I cannot do maths from parents up to the students. And Harlow College has 1,100 students on GCSE and functional skills, but we are focusing only on the GCSE students at the moment. So what I'll do, I'll hand over to Becca, who was the teacher who worked on this maths lab or maths clinic, to talk you through the process. Becca.
Right, thank you. Right, good afternoon. Okay, my name is Becca. I'm a senior teacher at Harlow College, and it's been a really pleasure for me to work with this project. It's been really good from the beginning to the end. Well, we didn't finish to the end because of the coronavirus, has been mentioned already. So let's have a look at some data. So what is that data we started with? What can we look at? And we decided to look at the AQA data, AQ exam data for June 2019. And because we can only look at Harlow College students, that's what we had to start with. We need to, so we analyze the data to find out what is that our students really struggle with, what are the problem areas. There were some students who didn't necessarily sit for exams, and we used the initial diagnosis for them and topic tests. So we try to get as much data as a base data possible, so we could start from somewhere. Just going to show you some basic charts. We looked at 300 Harlow College learners and their results. Even though we looked at this higher level, we then started drilling down so we could see, well, yes, let's say, for example, algebra is the big problem. How about look at individual level, individual student level, and what can we come out from that? What information can we get from that? We looked at the foundations for the individual learning plan. So we looked at that data and used that data when we drill it down as a foundation for the individual learning plans. I can zoom in on this small chart. As you can see, just this example of overall paper analysis for our learners, and algebra and geometry and measures are the problem areas. So that's what we started with. We looked at algebra and then some, just gonna go through more in details in here. But algebra came out to be the biggest problematic area, and we started working on that. So plan, what it is, and we came up with the mass clinics. We wanted to create safe and secure environment for the learners who took part in that. We wanted to make sure that we build a relationship, not necessarily only between myself and my learners, but also between the learners themselves. So they had the confidence to work together and make mistakes together and learn from it. We talked about that dialogic approach. You know, it's all about conversations, not being afraid to make mistakes, and looking at the problems from different angles, different perspectives. And we looked at a strength-based approach where, you know, every one of us has some kind of strength, and if we build on those strengths, we can do so many great things. So based on that kind of approach, we really were able to capitalize quite a lot on that. So we put the plan in action, and then what? So we, first of all, I mentioned we had this drill down to individual students. So we use that information to make the one-to-one conversations at the beginning, and we made like a roadmap for the students. So that's where we are. That's what we need to get to where we want to be. We agreed on the timetables for individual students. And don't forget, these timetables were required the students needed to cut their lunch break half short to come into those mass clinics. And that was the kind of proof that they had the motivation to do this kind of thing. Because we started at 1 o'clock, their lunch break was 1 to 2. So half an hour short lunch break, it was too big to ask, but they were really up for it. Follow-up is one of the core strategies. I believe that, yes, we have them in short period of time in the classroom, but if we don't follow up with the homework or extra activities that can keep them engaged, you could lose a lot. So the follow-up was really emphasized. Follow-up with homework, extra activities, in and outside of the classroom. And use the learning stories to get new students to join, especially after the exam results came in. We had some really satisfied. I would say 80% of our learners have passed their exams in November. And then plan to collect, analyze the new data. I'll talk about it in a moment, more in detail as to what is new data we could get from that. We still focused on algebra. Some points we went back to basics, literally back to basics, because those students haven't really had a great experience with algebra. So we really wanted to go back to basics and build from there. I needed to be ready to amend the lessons at the moment's notice, because I need to know what is it I'm doing and what's working, what's not. Demonstrate the relevance and applications of the topics. There's more the contextualizations come in play. Why are we doing this? What's the whole point of knowing, for example, powers and roots, or the interest rates, or algebraic topics? What's the point of all that? And empower learners to take their responsibility. Tell them or show them that they are in charge. They are in charge of their own learning. It's really come through. Okay. Sorry if I'm rushing. More data. Now, it is more about being agile, and I'll take this word from the project management side of it. It is important to be agile because you need to understand what is working at that time, and don't wait for 6 months or 8 months to make any changes as required. For example, we collect data from Seneca. I use the Seneca quite a lot. Feedback from the students. I use the quizzes to get the set the homeworks, do the online lessons. But when I look at that lessons and the quizzes, I'll get some data and try to understand what is working and what's not. And for instance, if the learners are not doing enough, I could intervene and make sure they get on back on track. Analyze and plan for the appropriate interventions. Exactly, they use that data to analyze. Some of the platforms already provide the data for you. That's already analyzed, so you don't really need to do too much drilling down. And then loop continues. You need to keep doing that. Get new. So you have the base data, like base data from the beginning. As the new data come in, you look at it, analyze it, draw the conclusions, and then put the interventions accordingly. There's some timeline here for us. In 2019, we look at October data. October 2019, we looked at exam data. Then we look at topic tests as they come in. Attendance is really important. We have, yes, 5-6 students per math clinic, but we need to look at, are they attending? Are they regular? And if not, why not? Feedback, I use the Just Simple word cloud for us. Feedback from, we had 6-7 learners give us feedback. We didn't have a huge amount of uptake because of the COVID. I left it towards the end, and I didn't feel that it was appropriate for me to be chasing up for the feedback. But for the feedback I've received, this was, if I can zoom in. As you can see, yes, stands out. I mean, I've improved. I'm more confident. And I can understand more, and all this positive language that came out of the feedback is really, really amazing. Seneca Learn data, it could, you know, if you use Seneca before, you can get some kind of, it drills down back to individual students. But for instance here, that highlights over 6-7 months period, the number of topics completed by the students, number of hours they spend on it. And yes, it's good to see overarching picture, but also important to drill down to individual student to see who is doing what and intervene as necessary. Now, we move on to the teacher's perspective. Now, when we started this project, we looked at it from the teacher's perspective as to how does this data help me become a better person, better teacher, and how can I improve my delivery based on that data? And it's really helped me because it opened up the time for me or the new ways of thinking. So it was an opportunity for me to do more research, get more theories, what other people are doing, and then put that theory in practice. Well, I may not have had that luxury in mainstream teaching, for instance. Adapting to agile approach, you need to be able to change things at the moment's notice, and including lesson plans, delivery, approach, and so on. And then continuous reflection. I've written lots of reflections on weekly or daily basis on things that worked, didn't work, and what I could do to improve. And if you look through those reflections, you can clearly see the plan and action plan, and that's been what's been done about any points that's been raised throughout the action plans. And I had more control on lesson planning and delivery. At Harlow, we do plan and we do the planning as a team, but for this particular instance, I had more control, more autonomy onto I wanted to deliver, how I wanted to deliver, and what mechanisms I could use, what tools I could use. I had more control on that as well. From the learner's point of view, they grew up in the confidence. I could see that they became more and more confident on what they were doing. They were not shy making mistakes. They were not shy of trying. They were able to see their own progress. You know, we are human beings, and if I don't see the point of something I'm doing, if I don't see that I'm improving, I kind of resent it. So I saw that in them as well. When they saw the progression in their own ability to do things, then they were really, the buying in was improved, really. Having a structure to follow. We had a certain structure we had to follow inside the classroom, online, or the homework. So they had this continuous structure, and we kind of emphasized on those structure, so they knew what to do at any time. And it's really emphasis was put on the building relationships from the get-go. Really, we created this community of the learning environment, really, where the learners were absolutely free to express their views. We talked about, yes, maths mainly, but not only mathematics. We also talked about other things that I thought is important. So that helped us to create that long-lasting relationship. We had the students who passed in November and came back and did the higher paper with me again. So it was fantastic to see that. Okay, and I will pass over to Viv for conclusions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Becca. From the November results, we found out that 85% of the students who took part in these maths clinics passed in the November exams. The few of them, as Becca has mentioned, decided to then go on. Those who said to me at the beginning, I don't like maths, I hate maths, are now wanting to do higher papers. So those were some of the great things just already earlier on in the January exams, results from the November exams. So 4 of them already stayed back and said, I want to carry on, I want to get a greater, a higher grade, which was already fruits coming out from there. The teacher is excited after those results to start again and carry on with those little classes. And as we said, the college plans collaboratively, but because I have so many new teachers, this opportunity gives them the chance to also perfect their own kind of planning for their sessions and do those self-reflections and develop their teaching strategies, particularly the dialogic approach, which Harlow College is really promoting with the students. We see that the learners have overcome their fears and they're developing more interest in maths, and we hope to then take this further into the next year and work with the rest of the team, which mainly made up of new teachers as well. So we're going to carry this forward. They learn well when they feel free. The students learn well when they know the environment is good. So maths clinics provided that safe space for them. And that's linked to literature where Bolwell and Elson with Sivan said, learners will learn more effectively if they're actively involved in the process of planning, process of the learning themselves. If they find that the lessons is being planned according to what they want, they feel better. Teachers enjoying their work, and so the cycle continues, and we're going to carry on with this research, this time with more teachers, and we see the impact and cross. It's been an exciting year for us, and we really loved it, and I feel encouraged. I feel that the rest of the staff feel left out now. They're so excited, they can't wait. Thank you very much.